This video is sponsored by ClipDraw, a software that we use to edit our videos. If you're interested in using this software too, please see the description below for affiliate links. Overhyped Eredivisie prospect, or better than Rafinha? Just how good is Anthony Matheus dos Santos? In terms of Anthony's shooting, he reminds me a bit of Mo Salah. He's a match winner, he takes a lot of risks, constantly trying efforts on goal because he wants to decide the outcome of games. Now, he can be quite speculative, but that comes with the territory when you're trying to win the match on your own head. Inside the box, he's a lot more composed, he's a lot more efficient because he has a picture of when the ball's coming in and what he wants to do with the finish. This is another fine example of he's judging the situation, spots that the finish should go to that side instead of his usual far corner. In this situation where he's running at defenders, he usually goes for the far post. That's his sort of trademark go-to finish. It can be quite predictable, but as long as there's an overlap, it can draw defenders away. Once again, same type of finish. Without a shadow of a doubt, Anthony is one of the best dribbling prospects in the modern game. High success rate due to his ability to keep his head up, excellent decision making at high speed, and an eerie ability to keep the ball glued to his foot. Now, it's worth noting Anthony is that rare breed of footballer. He seems to have mastered the old style of dribbling, the Argentine Gambetta method, with the Brazilian skill set. Now, this makes him a mixture of a Messi and Neymar in terms of style. In terms of his weaknesses, in terms of his dribbling, I'd say he's quite predictable. He tends to go inside a lot, and when he does go down the line, he doesn't put a cross in, so defenders know he's going to come back at them. And his physicality needs to get better. Doesn't quite power through his dribble and leave his man for dead. But I can see that not becoming an issue once he moves to a bigger league where he's going to be up against more powerful defenders and he needs to add on muscle to compensate for that.
Balletje ertussen bij Rens. En dan...
Now, it's fair to say that Anthony's creativity stats are mouth-watering for a wide player. He's got a great balance between risk and reward, and it's the sheer efficiency with which he can progress the game that makes him a coach's dream and the perfect sort of Barca prospect. This is a player who can respect ball possession but create in equal measure. He makes that look effortless. Now, one thing we've noticed with a player like Sancho, who also had that ability to create but keep the ball well, is that they need to have runners around them. Otherwise, that part of the game just disappears. So if he does make that move to a United, he's going to need a better sort of system around him and players who like to make runs off the ball. His perception of what's going on around him is excellent. It's due to the fact that he's a very head-up dribbler, so he's always got pictures in his mind.
Tot een 3-2 overwinning tegen RKC en Cambuur.
Touching on from the last section, Anthony has a great mind for keeping possession despite being burdened with being Ajax's chief creator. His link-up play is excellent. It's very natural. Compare it to the more dysfunctional Rashford in this regard, and his decision-making is night and day. He knows where his teammates are and he usually executes the right pass.
Want daar is nog wel wat te halen wellicht in die slotfase, want daar is Haller en die prikt it up towards the...
Ten Hag is rather like Jurgen Klopp in that he likes his side to put in a lot of aerial crosses in contrast to a Pep who prefers cutbacks and ground passes into the box. Now, a slight difference to Klopp is that Ten Hag prefers his crosses to come from the wingers and the fullbacks are more of a distraction, whereas in Klopp's system the fullbacks provide the crosses. Anthony is the epitome of this strategy. He statistically puts in a great volume of crosses, and execution-wise he's strong too. When he's crossing towards the 6-yard area, he's usually fantastic, but when it's more towards the far post like this, he tends to overhit the crosses and they're too loopy. So something to work on. On the left side, again, he's rarely on this flank, but he looks devastating.
Gaat ook om naar binnen te komen. Om de paas te geven richting Tadic.
Anthony's long pass stats are surprising. Quite frankly, they're mediocre and they don't scream elite. Yet the eye test seems to suggest that technically he's quite flawless in this regard. He seems to execute passes with the right weight. Speed of the pass is excellent as well, which is quite hard to pull off. The height of the pass seems to have a nice dip to it. It's not too lofted. Therefore, this is an area to observe quite closely, because I think as his career progresses, this will be perceived as a strength rather than a weakness. Aerially, Antony outperforms his physique. He really has no fear, and he's quite similar to Luis Diaz in this respect, where he's a target man for long balls, despite on paper looking like he's the last person you'd want to aim an aerial ball at. He struggles inside the box, and the reason for this is that in general play, he's competing against fullbacks, but in the box, he's competing against centre-backs, and this could be a problem. So I can't see him developing into an elite attacking threat in the air, but he should get more goals than he is. Defensively, Antony is a far from lazy player, but at the same time, I think he's underperforming based on his potential. A player that nippy, that aggressive, he has the perfect profile to play in a Guardiola or a Klopp system and be a pressing menace and win the ball more than he does. I think one of his issues is that he's a bit too over-aggressive in terms of the tackle. He needs to intercept more rather than just going to sliding tackles. Here he does it well, but generally speaking, he gives away a lot of fouls. So I think more attempts to win the ball back, aligned with a better appreciation of interception technique, will make him a more effective defensive player from the front. At the moment, clumsy in the tackle and could get sent off in a big game as he's too reckless. Tactically speaking, Antony prefers to play as a right winger. I think that's pretty much well known, either in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. That's his preference, but he's someone who's definitely stationed out there on the right and is a genuine out-and-out winger. Now, we've spoken about the fact that down the line he's incredibly dangerous. He's someone who is like a Rafinha, is like a Riyad Mahrez in that he will hold his width as well as come in, but he does it in a winger-like fashion. He's not someone who's going to vacate that flank and rely heavily on a right wing back to carry out all the heavy lifting in terms of ball carrying down that side. In terms of interplay, he's someone who's got that young Messi sort of vibe. He's able to keep the ball in tight spaces, pick out passes, come in off that flank and finesse it to the far post. In terms of being able to switch play, yes, his long pass statistics at the moment look average, but the eye test tells us that, he's able to hit a long pass very well. So he should be, in theory, switching play at will. In terms of heading the ball, we've covered it already, but he's someone who will come off the flank if the build-up play is coming down the opposite flank, and he should be a threat going forwards. Not a Cristiano Ronaldo-esque threat, but I can imagine him getting goals on the far post. In terms of which club would be a best tactical fit for Antony going forwards, he's been heavily linked with United, but I think tactically it's a club that's very not suited to him at the moment. You're going to need to replace Wan-Bissaka. Dalot's not good enough in order to give him that overlapping right back, which he does need in his game, because yes, he likes to hold the width, but he needs to have that freedom to be able to come inside and be a goal threat. That's not going to happen with Wan-Bissaka there. He'd be a great tactical fit at Liverpool as a replacement for Mo Salah if those contract negotiations fall down. He's got that young Salah vibe where, wants to be the match winner, loves to carry the ball forward, and he'd be an easy fit in that system. Likewise, at Barcelona, I've said, players that come from Ajax usually fit into the Barca philosophy quite well. He's someone who keeps the ball very well, in addition to being a creative threat, which is basically the Barca template. So I think he'd fit in under Xavi as a replacement for Dembele if those contract negotiations fall down as well. In conclusion, I believe Antony is one of the finest wing prospects in world football and a player who could potentially light up the World Cup in Qatar if given a chance. My gut feeling is that he will end up Brazil's first choice right winger in the long term ahead of Rafinha. His only weakness is the slightness of frame, but if he can add more muscle, then once he's subjected to a tougher league, he could really blossom there and take his game to the next level. It'll be really interesting to see where he moves to, because that will determine how his career progresses. If he follows Ten Hag to United, imperative he's followed by a ton of new signings and that the right philosophy and structure is built around him. I think his mentality is strong. He wants to be the main man. He takes risks, but he also has the composure to play the right pass so his ego doesn't take over his whole game. He has a showman nature to him, but this is a good thing. He's got that swagger, and especially when he's put on that Brazil shirt, it doesn't look too big for him. So this suggests to me he's a player made for a big club, a player who can handle the big stage. All that's needed now is that physical development and the right environment around him. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Please like, share and subscribe, and see you guys again next time. Bye.